My name is Scott Simmons. I'm the pastor at Faith United Church of Christ, and I am here with one of our regular attenders at the church who also happens to be my brother-in-law, Ryan Feeney. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Scott. How are you?
Are you in a dungeon?
This is where Shannon keeps me when I don't stay on track.
Yeah, it looks like a horror.
But it's upstairs. It's not down. It's a elevated dungeon.
That's the office at your shop.
Yes. So, but I have the lights off because you told me that you couldn't see my face, so it looks even worse. It needs a coat of paint and some drywall and a ceiling, maybe.
Why don't you share with everybody what you do and why you have a shop and all that?
Okay, so I was born and raised in Indiana. I met your sister, my beautiful wife, Shannon, at Miami of Ohio. We have 3 kids, Emma, Carson, and Addison. Let's see, I got my formal training. I'm a sculptor and a full-time firefighter with the city of Indianapolis. So I have 2 jobs, so to speak. Right now, I'm kind of on leave right now for a shoulder injury, but it still allows me to kind of do a little bit of both. But I've been a full-time firefighter for 21 years. I've been an artist ever since I learned like age 7, I did my first oil painting, and then I got into sculpting and have a degree in graphic design and sculpture from Miami. Some of my pieces that some people may know, I did the Peyton Manning out in front of Lucas Oil, and then I did a full-size firefighter located downtown. So I have some projects around the city. I've done some out-of-state work, but other than that, so that's basically me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, I think I was preparing for my message on sevens, and it made me think of you. And so I shared with you this past Sunday that I thought you might be one, and we kind of had a conversation. So I'm claiming you as one possible.
Yeah, and I started looking over it, and it does make sense to me. When I took the test, Shannon gave it to me, and she may have answered 1 or 2 for me because I didn't really know. But anyway, so yeah, I don't really know. I think I agree with you that I fall into a 7. And of course, with all these tests, sometimes people, am I really? Do I? Until somebody may confirm that, I may be.
Yeah, and I mean the value of these is not prescriptive, it's descriptive. Like if you begin to read about it and it seems to describe you, then I think it's an invitation to think a little deeper about how that Enneagram type is described. You might learn something, right? And the whole concept I've been emphasizing through the series of the root sin, that the thing that is like most messing with our lives is actually beneath the surface and not automatically obvious. I think that is like one of the biggest pieces of value. It's like, now that I maybe think I am this type, let me try to understand the dynamics at play that lead to my healthiness or lack of health, right?
Right.
So on a surface, like a 7 is called the enthusiast, and they're fun-loving. They always have a story. They always have a joke. They're always smiling. They're always up for a good time. That's you.
Yeah. So essentially, you're calling me a topper. No, I'm just kidding. I always do have a story. One time. No, I'm just kidding. Right. And it is. It's always. And when I was reading up on it, it was about, don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss out on anything, and that's true in everything. I mean, if you come to my shop, I have 10 different projects. Shannon goes into convulsions and just has a nervous breakdown because she says, how do you get anything done? And I said, well, I work a little bit on that one. And then when I get bored, I go to this one. Then I go to this one and this one and this one, and they all get done. And once I get bored with it, I just move on to another thing. And, another thing about the 7s that, I kind of agree with is, the fact that I can't sit still. I think that's one of those, like, we go to a beach vacation. I no longer lay a towel out or set a chair on the beach. I'm gone. I'm somewhere else. I'm, walking down the beach, doing something else. So I think, when it comes to those, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought about, like, you were telling me on Sunday that when you're working as a firefighter and a fire would come, like, some people sometimes go, danger, no thanks, and you're going like, I got to be there for that.
Well, yeah, and it's not only that, but you're stationed at I'm at a certain station, and there could be a fire down the street, but you don't get called on it. Mm-hmm. And you're just chomping at the bit. You're going, oh man, maybe we'll get it on the second one, and it's an exciting job to have. And, there's multiple times where I'll have to cook, and I'll go to the grocery store, and I hate going to the grocery store on my own because I may miss a call. And there was one time, here comes a story, but there was a time I was driving home or from the grocery store back to the firehouse, and all the trucks went right by me. And that was my station. And then I kind of pull over and I look in the rearview mirror, and I see a column of smoke, and I'm like, missed one. But then I turned around and put our groceries and food at risk because they sat in the car for a half hour while I helped out with fighting the fire. So,
yeah. I was thinking about, like, the fact that, your job as a sculptor, like, is pretty demanding, and you seem like maybe you have a hard time passing up on any interesting project, no matter how busy you are, because you don't want to miss out on it.
Right. And that's exactly how my shop is. And that's where, I have, and it's just me, I do this part-time, and I have two people that kind of help me out, not full-time, because it's more of custom. I still enjoy doing the work. My dad has always said, Ryan, you're 47 years old. You can't be lifting this heavy stuff and welding and grinding all day long. You need to get somebody to do that for you. But it's like, no, I like doing it. I want to do it. Mm. So,
and the guys that help you out, they are like independent contractors in a sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, I kind of forgot about this until you brought it up, that, like, sevens, they want to have freedom. They want to be able to go do the next thing or what have you. And so they don't typically have jobs where there's a lot of authority over them. I mean, this might not play out for your fireman job, but definitely, like, you're an independent businessman. And so they don't want somebody over them because that would restrict their freedom. But they don't necessarily like to be over other people, because then they might have to restrict the freedom of others or have the difficult conversation. Because as we talked about off camera, that sevens, their need is to avoid pain. Like, they don't, especially, like, the less healthy you are, the less you want to, like, do the painful things. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily, like, physically painful, but it's more likely, like, the emotionally painful, like having to fire somebody. So
right. Well, and that's, it's kind of funny, because when you're on the fire department, I think after 5 years you can go to, like, officer. You can become an officer. You have to take some classes and go through interviews, and you can be a lieutenant, and then on top of lieutenant's captain, on top of captain's chief. I'm content riding the back step. I don't want to be an officer. And it's that you just said that is absolutely 100% true, that I have no desire to be over anybody. And then when I'm, off from the firehouse, I can come here and do what I want. Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like, you got all these projects going on as a sculptor, but sevens, they can easily become bored. So you just spice it up by going and fighting fires.
Yeah. In case I get bored of this, you never know what I do.
Yeah. Sevens are most Enneagram things don't call them this. They call them enthusiasts, but there's one that calls sevens the generalist. And they don't specialize in a single thing because they'll get bored of it. They like to do a bunch of different things.
Right.
Well,
and when you said enthusiast, it's, when I was in, this is probably my fourth story now. So I think now, and more, I believe that I'm a 7. But, my dad said we had a church group go to Prairie de Rocha and go fill sandbags. And Dad was like, you should think about doing that. Next thing you know, I'm in a cargo bus with a bunch of people from church to go and I had nobody. I knew nobody on the trip. you know, and Shannon knows that I'm notorious for, I will go to a party if I don't know anybody. It's fun for me to go meet new people. It's like, I have no problems talking to anybody, telling them anything and doing whatever, because it's fun, new experience.
Yeah.
So, and then when, the pain or the excess, trying to avoid pain, I can see that in my shop here, because, I have so many things to do and I need to get them done, and, that, anxiety builds that I have to stay. And when I first did this metalworking on the side, I'd stay till 9 o'clock trying to get things done. And because I wanted to avoid the fact that somebody's going to be unhappy with me that I can't get it done, or the fact that it's not exactly done the way I want it to be done, takes longer. So I have that kind of a perfectionist, quality about myself. In this type of work, maybe not cleaning the house, but I do like things a certain way. But
yeah, which like allows you to do like really quality work,
right?
And then you get more. Then you get more phone calls,
yeah,
and then you struggle to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I wonder if like one of the books I'm reading, they described like this guy who's a 7. And he, like, 7s love to go on vacation. They love experiences. And so like the 7 had read all about the pyramids and planned to go see them in Egypt, and then gets to the pyramids and has this dinner in Cairo planned afterwards. And he's at the pyramids thinking about the dinner in Cairo. And so like when a 7 gets really extreme, it's always like the next experience, kind of living for the next thing. It can diminish the joy in the moment. It becomes kind of like a more shallow joy.
Right.
Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah. Like I postponed my surgery because I had a trip planned to Mexico. So, I pushed that back. I wasn't in that much pain. But yeah, when we're in Mexico, I'd be in the moment sitting by the pool and then kind of look over to Shannon and some other people and it's like, all right, so where do we want to go next year? You can't, it's exactly what we did. And it's like, well, maybe we go back to, or you think about spring break. You try to live in that moment, but then I live in the moment for about a second. Then I'm like, okay, now what,
Have you ever had a time where you were like successful at living in the moment? Anything that's helped with that?
No, I don't know. Like what? I guess I
don't know. I mean, like, okay, so for several of the types, like being in nature is helpful. Like ones have a need for perfection, and something about nature, like nature just is what it is. There's no need to reform it, sort of thing. And it can help them be at peace. And so for like a 7 who has a drive for the next thing and doesn't want to miss out, being able to stop and just enjoy this moment. That's kind of part of your work. Right. To just balance out and
yeah, I think I do enjoy being in the moment. It might not be for a very long time, but it is, because, sometimes it's that saying, all good things come to an end, but, I try to make it last as long as I can before it does end. But yeah, I do.
I forget what it was. Gosh, it had to be maybe a year ago now. It was right when I think you could go, like places were opening up during the pandemic. And I had some reason to go with you somewhere, and we stopped at beer to have a beer. And like, I felt like you were in the moment there, like just
relishing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it wasn't in a hurry to get back to wherever we had to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I procrastinate a little bit, but I do enjoy the moment most of the time.
Mm-hmm. So the root sin of the 7 is gluttony, and that's often associated with food, but really it's about this like excess, like I need to go on the next trip, I need to have the next drink, I need to eat the next thing, like But the fruit of the Spirit is joy, or as some writers say, sober joy. And it's like this ability to see both the good and the downside. It's like, you know, another round of beers would be fun. 3 more creates a problem, you know, or, you know, like, I love my, you know, my friend, but there is this issue too. And I don't know, like, does that resonate with you? Like, I mean, do you sometimes struggle to deal with the negative side of life or a situation, or find kind of like some sort of positive when you're actually doing the hard work of looking at the hard thing?
Yeah, you know, working on my sculptures, you know, that right there could be the gluttony, because I'll be like, okay, just another hour, or another, you know, another this, and the next thing you know, it's 4 hours, and you're kind of like, okay, if I don't stop, you know, back away from this. And, you know, about the beer, one more beer, that's basically my Indian name is one more beer. So Shannon, I'm surprised you probably got that from her, but anyway, we'll let that go. But yeah, when I'm working on my pieces, it is like that. I just, you know, keep working, and then just keep working, and I do enjoy it. But then while I'm working on it, it'd be funny, because I'll be working on a texture, and then I'll be thinking about another project, you know, and I have a hard time reading a book. You know, reading, I can read, in contrary to what my father believes, but I can read. You know, I know sentences are formed by multiple letters, reading from left to right, up to down. But I will be reading a book and get past like a paragraph, and I'll think about something, and then I'll have to be like, oh, what did I just read? I'll have to go back and do it again. So yeah, but yeah, I find positives in everything I try to do. Yeah. You know, when I did get hired to do the Peyton Manning statue, I was so excited, but then woke up in the middle of the night being, okay, I need to get going. I need to order clay. We need to get this, and we need to get that. So I lived in the moment. And that was when your father had that scholarship named after him. Yeah. That was the night that I got that. So definitely lived in the moment.
Yeah, we were in Chicago.
Yep.
I remember you got the phone call. It was awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
That's interesting about how, like, when you got that, you're like waking up and like thinking and going boom, boom, boom. That's kind of like the way a 1 behaves. And so apparently,
now you're saying I'm a 1.
No.
I'm just kidding.
So there's like, you know, the Enneagram is kind of like an onion. There's all these layers to it. And so like another layer is that when whatever your primary type is growing or being healthy, it will look a little bit like one of the other types.
Okay.
And so like the 7, right, it can be always on to the next thing. It's scattered. It's doing 10 million things, where a 1 tends to be very orderly and disciplined and goal-oriented. Like Abby's a 1. And yesterday I was working on my message and working out at the same time. And for her, that made no sense. But I'm like, hey, look, I'm a creative. I kind of need to let this stuff marinate. And so, you know, like in that moment, under that pressure, you actually went to like a 1 versus, I forget what you do, 7s do when they're, I'm going to find it here in a second, when they are not being healthy under stress. You tend to become, almost have it. You become like a 5. Let's see. You suddenly become perfectionistic. Oh, wait. Scattered 7s suddenly become perfectionistic and critical at 1. But when it's stress, growth. When you're growing, gluttonous scattered 7s become more focused and fascinated by life, like healthy 5s.
Okay.
I don't know. That was a swing and a miss.
You got me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, whatever.
Oh yeah. Suddenly it becomes all clear.
Yeah. I have a sense that like our culture, like American culture, especially like in its consumer culture, is like an unhealthy 7 culture.
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like always get the next thing, always do the next thing, right?
Yeah,
like,
I can see that. Yeah.
like the messaging, I think, is hard on all of us, but I think particularly for a 7, it's like Instagram is like a very 7 place. Like, oh, you know, like comparing, I need that, I need that, I need more, never content, never content. And so like there's a scripture that Paul says, it says, don't be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I was wondering, like, what helps you renew your mind?
Man, that's kind of a tough question. Moving on to something new, you know, I mean, that to me is if I am kind of bogged down on something, you know, I need to get away from it. You know, I start another project. So, you know, I mean, honestly, that renews my mind. It's like, if I get tired of working on one thing, then I'll go to another. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, I do like, when I did hurt my shoulder and I couldn't drive for 4.5 weeks, luckily I live a mile from the shop and I would walk to the shop. Mm-hmm. So having that peace and quiet of walking, there's an old abandoned train track that leads right to my shop. I walk down that. So I think nature, you know, like hiking, mm-hmm. kind of does a little bit for me. On the boat, like at your mom's house, and just kind of doing that but by myself, or, you know, in the moment, just me. Yeah. You know, I love to be around people. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's one of those things, like me being an enthusiast, is that kind of rejuvenates me too, is being around people. Yeah. You know, takes my mind off of it. I'd be able to talk to somebody about it if I have a problem or I'm frustrated or something. Then if I talk to somebody about it, then, and some, you know, and that somebody could be anybody, to be honest with you. I'm not shy, you know me.
Yeah. I do know you. Yeah. One last thing, the country, according to Richard Rohr of Sevens, is Ireland.
Yes, been there. Yeah. When I was there, I was figuring how I can get back. Annan and we went with a friend of mine on the fire department's from Waterford. So we took the kids 2 weeks down there. Yeah. And it was fun. Yeah. Get it around the island. Sunny south side of Ireland. Yes. Waterford. Yes. So, but yeah.
Well, and the invitation to a 1 is what Rohr calls cooperation with God. And a 7 thinks that they can basically design their own. They can design their life in such a way that they're happy. Mm-hmm. Right? They'll have lots of good events on the calendar. They do, go, experience. And like at their worst, they're doing that to avoid the painful things and realities. And so the cooperation with God is being able to embrace the reality of the world, both its beauty and its brokenness.
Right.
And I know that where you are on the fire department, you see a lot of brokenness, you know, and I think that maybe that there's a gift there for you if it's handled well, because like it's easy, especially if you're relatively wealthy, which, you know, I would say most people in America are, or well, at least, mm-hmm. you know, I think we are, relative to the rest of the world. And so it's easy to avoid the brokenness, right? Like if all you're doing is your shop work, right? Like your clients typically are not people who are struggling financially. No. But the environment you go into when you're as a firefighter, it's pretty rough, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I see a lot of gunshots, a lot of drug overdoses. You know, especially with what's going on in Indianapolis. I have no idea what's going on, but you're on a call for somebody hurt or somebody sick, and you know, you see the other side of it, and you try to give them the best service that you can, you know, because by law, and that's my job. But then I kind of go out of the way, and you know, a little high five to a little kid that's, you know, has basically nothing, you know, so I do see both sides, and, you know, that kind of keeps me going on with my work side, is because I know that, you know, with my box truck, I help you guys loan it out to do the food pantry. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
For what I have. But yeah, we need to pray for a new transmission, by the way.
By the 21st of August. Or no,
yeah. Cast out that net, get me a transmission. No, but anyways. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking some time to think about this and talk about this. Yeah. I do enjoy your joyful side. It's always lots of fun. And appreciate you, you know, speaking to me from your dungeon. I mean, awesome.
I gotta go do something. I gotta get out of here. It's hot.
All right, man.
All right, talk to you. All right, thanks.
Talk to you later. Bye.